Good afternoon. This is Tanisha Laverne Grant, What's Black in America.com. I am excited beyond measure. It is indeed a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Anytime I get to talk to this handsome gentleman who most of us have come to know just recently in the Katori Hall series P Valley. Nico Anand, who stars as the incomparable Uncle Clifford that just stole the hearts of Americans. I mean, there have just been
Thank
so
you.
many, there have been so many amazing quotes, coming out of Vanity Fair and Essence.
Yeah,
Nico, how are you feeling today? First of all, how are you feeling?
I am great. I am great. And I have been showered before this interview by my mother, who was calling asking about where are her groceries. So we are all in the midst of extreme highs and real normal balancing norms. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
good. I'm good.
yeah. Congratulations on the success of P Valley. I think I was one of the
Thank
last
you.
Mohicans to come on and watch this show. Usually when I see on social media, like, oh, you got to watch this, you got to watch this, you got to watch this, I got to pace
Mhm.
myself because as a journalist, we take in so much. We
Uh-huh.
watch a lot of film,
Yeah.
we watch a lot of television, and the stuff stays with you. So I got to pace myself. I kind of want to
That's
start.
great. That is
Yeah.
so great because I think that that's real. I think that's actually how I watch TV as well. And everybody would be like, wow, they need to release all the episodes at one time. And I need to just get through them all. I get how some people digest it. But for me, I get upset when I do that. Like when I did that in the beginning with a couple of streaming episodes like 2, 3 years ago. And I was just mad that I had to wait so long for them to come back. So I was just like with Ozark, I was like that. Insecure first season, I had
Oh,
just like
insecure.
binged everything, and I was just like, oh, I need to just temper myself.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I liked about with the show coming out every week, it was almost like appointment theater, so like people made time, and it was a concentrated effort to join and have that exchange. I feel it made me feel like a little bit like when I was a kid in Thursday Night with a Different World you
Oh
know
my God. Yeah.
it's like, oh,
Wow.
did you see that? So yeah, appointment
It's an
TV.
amazing show. It's an amazing show. But I
Thank
want
you.
to talk about you. I like to start at the beginning when I'm interviewing actors, writers, and producers. I kind of like to, have the journey, of your career, of your human experience. Yeah. So, you're
I
from
laugh at that,
Detroit.
Tanisha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are you
Yeah,
laughing at
because so many people think that I just appeared because
that? Oh, no,
because
it's a
so many people don't
process.
know. Yeah.
Yeah,
um
Detroit, home of Diana Ross, SUNY Purchase. You know what I mean? There's a whole journey,
Look
a
at you, look at
whole
you, look at
journey.
you.
Yeah,
She does her work, ladies and gentlemen. So
yeah.
when you watch in her program, and you're getting some refined,
Listen.
excavated
Oh,
knowledge.
thank you so much. Let me tell you
Yeah.
something. I'm a graduate of Cheyney University of Pennsylvania. It's the
Okay.
oldest HBCU, founded in
Uh-huh.
1837, and the late Ed Bradley, one of the greatest journalists of our time, who was on 2020 for years. He hosted
Mm-hmm.
not 2020, 60 Minutes.
60
Forgive me, the
minutes.
moms. 60 Minutes was an amazing teacher of mine. I got an
Ah,
opportunity to study underneath him when I was very, very, very young.
that's
And
what's
so
up. And you
yeah.
can't replace that. You know what I'm saying? Because I had elder teachers. I had like at Purchase. You mentioned from Detroit. Yes, actually, Diana Ross went to my high school. I went to
I
Cass
was
Tech.
gonna ask. It's so
Yeah,
listen, Cass. Let me tell you something. Angela Lewis from Snowfall came
and
out of
that's
Cass.
one of my best friends. We were childhood friends. We had sleepovers
You
at each
better
other's house.
stop it.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me tell you something. I love Angela Lewis.
Me too.
I
Me
love her.
too.
I had the opportunity to interview her several times because I did a lot of work on Snowfall, just in terms of press.
Okay.
So every time Snowfall rolled out, season 1, season 2, season 3, and may John Singleton rest in peace. I miss him
Yeah.
tremendously. But he
Yeah.
loved him some Angela Lewis, and I know
Yes.
you were on Snowfall. You had an episode
Yeah.
that
I
you were
was
on. I'm
season
like,
season 2. And we played, Angela and I played cousins. It was so bizarre when the call came in and was like, so, this was during a time in my career where things were kind of just opening up. There was like a huge, it started off like this, and it opened up the window of opportunity for types of characters. And that was in 2017. So 3 years ago. And a call came in to my team and was like, would Nico play a drag queen? And I was like, I mean, yeah, what's the problem? Like, is there a conflict with the character, like a moral conflict, or like how is the person being portrayed? That's all I think about. Like, how is the person being portrayed? And they were like, no, 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 but we just get a lot of pushback from Black men that, you know, and I was like, oh, no, I'm fine. Yeah. So I read the script, and the script was written by Aziza Barnes. This episode was written by Aziza Barnes, who happened to be one of my former mentees when I was working at Urban Word NYC and being a director and choreographer in their program right there. So when I talk about people thinking that this just kind of happened overnight, my jobs, my career, the gestation period in New York of Broadway, off-Broadway, regional theater, waiting and working, not waiting, but working and knocking down doors and knocking on doors. No, okay, bet, I'm going to the next one. That tenacity, that work ethic, that network across the board, you know, as opposed to always having to reach up, oh, I want to work with so and so. This is like, who's right here with me in the middle of Chelsea? Like, let's write a poem, let me direct it.
Nico, let me tell you something. I was racking my brain because I'm like, have we hung out? I'm like, what?
I know.
Wait a second. I was like, what? I'm like, did he have to help me in the cab? I'm like, why do I feel like I kept racking my brain. I felt like we had like another connection in New York City. I'm like, why do I feel like I have hung out with this brother? You know,
I have always felt that with him. I've always seen you. I've always seen you on the red carpet. You've always had such a polished look and a class level to your interviews.
You know, we take you seriously, and like I said, we're just so proud of you.
Thank you.
P-Valley, you know, was a play, or started out as a play by Tori Hall, and you were casted as Uncle Clifford in that as well. And then when it came to series for Stars, you had to audition again. You know, talk about that. And, you know, what was your outlook knowing that you didn't directly have it in the can, but inherently it was for you? Do you know what I mean?
It was no different than any other job that I went out for. I think people have asked me that question, and not just seeing the show. This was a question that was asked to me in the process. And I honestly, I never thought about it. I'm gonna at 100. I thought, I was like, okay, I know I'm good. I know I work my ass off. I know I've studied and trained and I've done the work. So I knew her skin. I knew Uncle Clifford's skin. But at the same time, I have been in this industry a very long time. I am not a spring chicken, and I'm not a gullible person. So I was very well aware that when going to networks, when we were getting bigger, they were going to try to go for a name. It just made sense to me. It just seemed like the obvious that the suits would do, that the money people would do, inquire about whether or not Katori, as the showrunner and creator, was on board with that or not. I also knew that as a person, she had to make decisions, creative decisions, business decisions, where the show was going to go. So I knew that those things could play a factor. But at the same time, I just focused, that wasn't my job. That's not my job.
I love that.
My job is to present the character in its full truth and their full honesty, and let y'all do with it what you do with it. You know, my job is simply to be. So I also, and a part of this, to be fully transparent, I was also happy because I started to realize my a level of social responsibility, so to speak. And in that, what I mean is, when I talked about that window of time in 2017 of the characters that I could play opening up, I just, I felt I was in this space of like, hey, other people can audition for this role or see this material and like feel real, a real person on the page, not just a stereotype and not just a joke, not just a tertiary character that's on the peripheral and you don't get to come in. Like, you get to see that. A downfall of that, I know, is that when people had that material, they still played it as if she was on the
Mm.
peripheral. They not getting into the humanity of it. So I think that the character, the role, and the opportunity work on all different levels to show people, whether it was Black people, Black actors, showing that you don't have to succumb to some European um, standard of speech. You don't have to throw away all of your goodness. You need it to be in P Valley. You needed not only the fact that you knew about hot sauce on plain chips and shake the bag. You needed that experience, but you also needed the experience and the technical training of using speech and sound to tell story
Mm.
because there's a musicality to her world, to her writing, um,
I love Katori
and
Hall.
yeah,
I
yeah.
love,
It was just like you just get
love
to be Black. You just get to be Black and
Katori
like up.
Hall. Watching P Valley just had me I wanted to be everybody. You know, I'm like, I want to be Uncle Clifford. You know what I mean? I want to be Diamond. It's like every episode, I'd be so vested. It's like I would choose, one character per episode to be like, okay, that's the journalist in me. I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
today I'm all Uncle Clifford. Just love her and the vulnerability and just the humanness. And that is what is so brilliant about Katori Hall and P Valley is
Yeah.
the humanization of marginalized people.
Mhm. Yeah, for real, for real. You get to really see the reasons behind why people make these choices. You get to see the inner workings of sex workers. And in this specific strip club, every strip club does not run the same. But this one
First of
is
all, honey,
literally
we're
its
all
own.
sex workers. We all sex workers.
Hello.
Okay. They may not know it. They may not know it, Nico. They may not know
Mm,
it,
that
baby.
part.
But yeah, y'all are sex workers. Sorry.
Yeah.
You laughing. You like, oh my God, what am I in
Funny.
for? Yeah,
I mean,
listen.
I'm here for the ride. I'm here for the ride. This one woman said to me in a comment one time, she was like, I'm just pissed because Uncle Clifford got this brother putting Christmas lights in the back of the car. I can't even get a man to take me to the Sizzler. And I was like, baby girl, you with the wrong one.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
those are your expectations, you are with the wrong one because,
Well, let me
you
tell you
know,
something. Uncle Clifford knows her value and she knows how to work her
hmm
femininity and her
yeah.
sensuality and her sexuality, you know.
The way you just did right there, the way you just did right there. And I think that for me as an actor and a craftsman, it was so interesting to see how people interpreted subtlety and interpreted femininity as submission. But in my mind, I look at women and I was observing women as a part of my character study, and I'm like, she know exactly what she's doing. And it's not manipulation, it's about leading a horse to the water, right?
Yeah.
And there it is. Are you going to drink it? Do you stroke the horse while it's drinking? Why do you understand what I'm saying? There was
Yes,
so
I
much
do.
psychological stuff that was behind, and I was like, this is kind of fun. I
It
don't walk
was
through the world like this. This is interesting.
listen, there are episodes where I've had to go back and I'm like, let me rewatch that episode again because I think to the Black male heterosexual audience
Mhm.
was the relationships that you had with Diamond and Big L, you know, that really spoke to Black men in a way that they needed to be spoken to. I'm from a very small town outside of Philadelphia called Chester, Pennsylvania. And when I was a little
Oh, I know
girl,
Chester.
yeah, when I
Yeah.
was a little girl, I lived in the Fairground Projects till I was about 12 years old, and
Okay.
I always kind of felt like we were there by default because, my father was this college educated man. but his philosophy was, well, unless we all make it, we haven't made it, so we're going to be
Mm-hmm.
here with my
Mm-hmm.
family, and so growing
Yeah.
up in the fairground, I saw many of an Uncle Clifford, many Uncle Cliffords, and
Mm-hmm.
it was something so beautiful and so painful to observe, even as a young woman, because I would see these men who didn't have, I mean, and we're talking like the 80s,
Mm-hmm.
and the late 80s, mid to late 80s, and they didn't have the space and they didn't have the freedom, and to see Uncle Clifford come on the screen in all of her glory and all of her splendor, I
Mm-hmm.
just immediately thought back to those young men, in the projects, the fairgrounds in Chester, PA, who now had somebody that was speaking, to them, for them, and through them. And it was just so powerful to me. I could remember one time,
Mm-hmm.
you know, there was a young man, so beautiful, beautiful blowouts, makeup,
Mm-hmm.
flawless, better than any woman's. And the wrong person tried him on the wrong day.
Come
He got,
on.
he got beat to a pulp, you know, and
Your
what,
friend or he
no,
beat the
the
other
person
person?
who was messing with my friend got beat
Okay.
to a pulp because
Mm-hmm.
because he identified,
In
as
a
this,
queer space that he was
right.
so soft.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they always had my back. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, little Grant, that's what you're not gonna do. Let her be with her little glasses and her ponytails and her books. Like, do not mess with her,
Yeah.
And so again, the brilliance and the beauty of P Valley and Katori Hall and you and your fellow castmates, what you guys have done is so remarkable and so needed for the culture, but more importantly, it's needed for Black culture,
Yeah.
for Black
Yeah.
men and women to see that regardless as to how we identify, we are all here in this together, and we have
Yes.
to love on each other and support each other regardless. And the beauty about Uncle Clifford, knowing her value, knowing her worth,
Mm-hmm.
and still being okay in the masculine body, I just thought was just like,
Yeah, it's so funny because people even in the beginning were like, but wait, isn't she trans? Wait, why is they say she in the script, but it's still Uncle Cliff. Wait, that's not right. That's not politically correct. And it's like, listen, this is all about personal. This is her personal identity. This is how she identifies. She
yeah,
is happy with this body that she is in. She feels at home in this body that she is in. And this is how she chooses to express herself. I thought that it was very interesting and necessary for the relationships that Uncle Clifford had with heterosexual members of the community. It was necessary to see that. I was just saying that there's just so much that happens on the spectrum within our community. We are not just one thing, and we have grown accustomed to thinking that we are, or stigmatizing that Black woman that may have a little rough exterior, but not even taking into consideration what caused that rough exterior for her.
mm,
I think
mm,
that people see um, members of the queer and the LGBTQ community and more accustomed to the snap or the
yeah,
cut down um, ness that can happen in our attitude because they see the fight or they hear like, oh, well, she got to fight more than because she's getting teased every day or whatever. But they don't take that same consideration when they look at a woman like Mercedes, the
mm,
character. And they're like, well, why is she so hard? And I'm like, now you're seeing what some of these Black women have gone through and what has caused this exterior. That's why she's, that rolling of the neck is
yeah.
not necessarily a personal attitude. It's about you're constantly dodging, and negotiating. It's like, I don't want to hear that BS that you're talking to me. So I thought that all of that was just very interesting and integral to the story. I thought it added a layer of truth and not hope and fantasy because I
Mm.
identify as a gay man all of my life. My cousins are I have some of the extremes. I got some, my cousins are not to be messed with. I was about to curse real hard, but I
Yeah,
want to
I
respect.
had to catch myself. I had to catch myself. I'm like,
You,
we're having a great time, you guys. We're having a great time. Forgive us. This is an interview, but it's just very organic. We're just having a great time. You know,
yeah.
I love the relationship between Mercedes and Uncle Clifford.
Hmm.
You know, Mercedes, God, I just wanted to hug Mercedes because I know Mercedes.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
We
I
all do, right?
know
We all do.
Mercedes. Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, trust me, I got an inner Mercedes. Okay.
And
But
hello, hello.
right.
I don't think that you would make it through this world, especially today, without it. Like you have to have. Hello, you see this?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
You know, I think like my sisters have a lot to deal with, and I'm very vocal about that because I feel there are privileges that we as men have, just men,
Please talk
period.
about
I
it.
don't care.
Talk
I don't
about that.
care. There are privileges, and I feel like when you sit back and you watch, and if you just see how women are treated objectively, don't take yourself out of the situation. You're like, oh, wait, she never even got her idea out. She never even spoke about it. Why are y'all chastising her before she even had an
Yeah.
opportunity to
Yeah.
oh, I see how you're treating. I see, and you know, so and I see other both sides of the coin, but I just feel like we as men have to be vocal about it because
Yeah.
I think my sisters, they can fight for themselves, but it's nice when you have some your brothers speaking up for you too. It's nice when you know you got backup.
It's nice to know that you're protected because, in the words
Hello,
of the late Malcolm X, he said, the least protected, most disrespected person in America is the Black
is the
woman.
black woman. Yeah.
You know, and unfortunately, when I have these kinds of conversations with Black men, you know, it's so hard for them to process. You know, it's so hard for them to reconcile. It's so hard for so many Black men to hear Black women are in pain. We don't feel protected sometimes
Hmm.
by you. You know, we
Mm-hmm.
don't feel nurtured. We don't feel that you're an ally without it having to be some sort of reciprocity, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
You
I
know, and
think that
it's
a
very
lot of men.
your laugh that's listen.
No, I laugh only because I'm thinking, and I think about like my male friends, and I'm gonna even narrow it down to just my black male friends, and if I gave it more narrow, my black heterosexual male friends. They oftentimes have not even had space to think about their worth,
Mm,
to even understand the impact, not the intention, but the impact of a lot of their actions. So
oh
I have a lot
no.
of relationships. I have a lot of relationships with my straight friends. Most of my friends are not on the LGBTQ spectrum. I have some of everybody. I got some of
Right.
everybody in my life. But I find that my brothers, my straight brothers, when I have conversation with them, there's a space where they can get an insight that maybe they are not able to with their girl, you know, or to find out like their homeboys are not holding them accountable, and honestly, some of the women that they are engaging with are not holding them accountable. So thereby repeating the cycle. So everybody getting a whole new batch of here you go, deal with all my troubles, you know, here,
Yeah.
deal with all my pain. And nobody is doing this self-care work. But I think that the pandemic is hopefully taking care of that for a lot of people. I think it's gonna be interesting what dating is like after this. You know, like
Let me tell you something. I'm going to be fully transparent here. I
come on.
have had at least, I want to say at least 3 or 4 solid men from my past
Hmm.
reach out to me.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, baby, you a day late and a dollar short, you know?
Okay, but
But
what was your response to their
I just
confession?
listened.
Okay.
I just listened because I'm from the mindset that a ship that sails backwards can never reach its destination.
Hmm.
So I don't like to go back. But
Hmm.
I did sit for a listen,
Hmm.
and I did sit for, those who felt compelled to want to apologize,
Hmm.
for not being able to meet the moment
Yeah.
that we were in our relationships,
Hmm.
but it's COVID has been very interesting in that regard. you know.
Why do you sound like Uncle Clifford talking to Little Murder?
God, I'm here for it. You know
Yeah.
what relationship I really loved in P
Who?
Valley? Diamond and MISSI. Oh my goodness, I'm drawing a memory blank.
M-I, crooked letter, I, crooked letter I,
Oh,
like, ah, yeah.
he was ready. Diamond was always ready to set it off for her, man.
Mm-hmm.
Always ready
Yeah.
to set it off.
I always ask the question, I wonder why, what is it about her or the situation that attracts those two together? I also think that you bring up, I mean, I love every single character in this show, so I could talk about everybody all day. But I think it's interesting, people talk about how Mississippi, quote unquote, the character disappointed them at the end of the, season finale. And again, I'm going to say this is a show about women and marginalized community. And if you pay attention to the show, in the last episode, Autumn went for the gun. She had told her where the gun was. She told Mississippi earlier that night where the gun was. She gave her the combination. She said she share her shit. That was the line.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Autumn goes to get the gun to defend herself. The gun ain't there. Where's the gun? The next time you see Mississippi, she outside at the car chilling, like Derek, her abusive boyfriend, told her. So I just think, and then you see her come in and you see her pull the gun on Diamond and Derek, and you don't know which one. I just think everybody was jumping on the character's case and like, oh, how can Mississippi do that? How can Mississippi do that? But they're not even looking at the facts, because she could have had that gun ready to take care of her situation herself.
Yeah.
She might not have needed a man to save her.
Yep.
She could have pulled it out on Diamond just because she was like, she told him, you don't need another body on that conscience of yours. So she could be trying to save him from that. I mean, we all know that Black women always are saving somebody, always protecting somebody. It is a part of the strength. It's a part of that whole motherhood gene that exists within my sisters. But yeah. So I just think that's interesting how do we perceive the images that's coming at us, and we just go straight for the norm or what we think is the obvious. And it's like, give our people more credit. I don't know, but you'll see in season 2.
Oh, wow. I cannot wait for season 2. I cannot wait for season 2. One thing that I really loved about Uncle Clifford was just her ambition, willing to go however far was needed, to be her version of successful and successful for those people who she knew was depending on her. The jail scene where you go to look out
Bail
for
Mercedes out. That's one of me and Brandy's favorite scenes. That's one of our favorite scenes.
I mean, that scene was so powerful. But one of my favorite scenes is when you go to the estate of the White family, the younger
Corbin, going to Corbin's and
the mulatto, the son of the the man who was sleeping with his mother, the bastard child. And there's this umbrella and there's just the whole regalia of it, just the pomp and circumstance, the pageantry of it, and as someone who is a former pageant girl, I said I would say he better show up and set the record straight and let him know exactly what is at stake here and what he's dealing with. So let's talk about, that aspect of P Valley.
I didn't know that you came from the pageant world. I didn't know that. And I think that makes more sense. And I want to even tap into the way that you were talking about dressing for your people, for your legacy, and what your grandmother told you. You sound literally exactly like Uncle Clifford. That is why she wore that outfit to go to the plantation. That was a literal plantation that we were filming on, literally.
Wow.
On top of the fact of in the story, this character because Corbin and Uncle Clifford are childhood friends. They went to school, elementary school together.
That was everything for me. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I love that it was
No,
written
because
like
you
that.
just, again, yeah, exactly. Just the same way I'm talking about people think that Nico just kind of appeared. Uncle Clifford didn't appear. The Uncle Cliffords that you see in the world, they don't just appear. They were once little children. They went to school. They went to kindergarten. They had jobs. They did, they did these things that you did as well. They are not some alien
Yep.
creatures. They are real human beings. So to see them, like when going to that plantation, Uncle Clifford was in my mind. I kept thinking, you will not erase your history. You will not erase our heritage. And standing in front of that cotton picker tractor machine that he was driving,
Hold up, that
eating
moment,
up.
okay. That was the cinematography in that moment, that sucker was so powerful. That
Yeah.
sucker was so powerful. I was like, am I the only one who is seeing this?
That was our director, Millicent Shelton. Millicent Shelton, a beautiful Black woman who has, she is such an OG in this game. She has directed so many things. She was like, Nico, just stand there. And I was like, okay, well, how long is it going, how close is it going to come? Just stand there, Nico. Just, do you trust me? She grabbed my hand, like, do you trust me?
Listen, give
like,
me Beast of the Southern Wild here. I said,
yes.
You better give me this Beast of the Southern Wild moment, okay?
Listen, that is a part of Black Southern culture. The way that we have to fight as Black people, it is not always with your fist. Oftentimes it is in what you wear. That is the protest. Sometimes so you can't talk about be mad at people making t-shirts. No, we use fashion we have always used fashion. When you look back at our culture, when you look back at New Guinea right now, you look at Ghana right now, you look at, like, you see people that are using red mud clay to dye their hair and to mold their hair, not Jam, not Dax, and not all of our products right now. We're using earth because that's how fierce we are. I just think that that's just beautiful. I just think that we as a people are amazing. So that moment of that machine coming at Uncle Clifford and standing there with the parasol, because originally the parasol was not a part of the wardrobe, but because we were on a plantation, I was like, guys, it's really hot out here and I am going to melt. I was like, do we have a parasol? They was like, no, we have umbrella. We got an umbrella. I was like, I cannot go out on this field in an umbrella. I would not. I would not. I was like, do you see these lace gloves? I have my lace doily gloves over my nails. I need a parasol. This is the moment. But it speaks to the fashion of the show. People think it's different. It's not just like, oh, Uncle Clifford is in this huge drag and da-da-da. I'm like, no, this is some material that grandmother used to have, and I send it to Mate and be like, girl, whip me up something quick, fast, and here it is. And Katori actually asked me that question when I walked out across the grass, and she was like, I love it. She was like, where did Uncle Clifford get this from? I said, girl, I got this from grandmother's closet and gave it to Mate to fix up, add some lace on top of this and do that, just to have for an occasion. And this would be that occasion because I needed to remind my best friend. Remember who you are. Remember who you are. You can't keep secrets. We have to talk about something like this because this affects the entire community. You selling this land or you leasing this land, it's not just about your family legacy. We talking about this family legacy because I'm keeping your secrets too. So that relationship right there was just really great. I loved, I loved the fact that
Katori Hall did her thing.
Yeah, because you just get to see people. You get to see people, like just real people. I think that's a part of the excitement and the revolution of it all because people was like, yo, that's my cousin. That's my auntie. Because we don't always say auntie.
Mercedes and her mama playing that church guilt trip program.
Yeah. But also her mama in the church having to do the same thing that her daughter in the club is doing. Like it's the parallels. Yeah.
Craziness. I mean, there's just so much education in P Valley. So much
and
education.
You don't think it.
Yeah. P Valley is definitely, I would teach P-Valley. I would teach P-Valley in a film aesthetics and criticism course. Yes, I would.
I
Yes,
think
I
that that
would.
is something that people did not expect. But I think that dissertations and expounded conversations and thesis on even just the characters in the show.
Every
I
last
mhm,
one.
yes.
Every last one.
And
Every
that's the
last one.
intention. I think that that is the intention. That's why when people are like, when y'all coming, why y'all ain't got season two? I'm like, wait, whoa, 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 whoa. The one thing that I know is not gonna happen is that y'all are gonna get some little chicken broth when you expecting a whole beef stew.
Mm-hmm.
You expecting some jollof rice. You expecting some real
Not the jollof rice. Not the jollof rice.
I'm saying
I
we take
get
it
it.
back. And you cannot water this down. Just like we can't be watered down. But you still gonna get your P Valley. You still gonna get your love in between these seasons. I guarantee you that.
P-Valley is a gem. Let me tell you something. Watching Mercedes and those girls, I'm like, you know what? I gotta get this thing together because I'm next season, I'm gonna do a whole tribute to P Valley. Y'all gonna be like, she is off the chart. She don't went off the whole cliff. You know, people often inbox me about, you know, some of the things that I post on social media that they think don't fall in line with being their hoity-toity perfect journalist. But I'm just
Mm,
like, you know, I'm
mhm.
still a woman, you know?
Hello. Come on.
Yeah,
Congratulations to you. I'm so proud of you for that. Like, because
thank
that's real.
you.
I think oftentimes people try to portray or project their limited experience or their limited forms of expression on you. And it's like men pole dance, women pole dance, full figure people pole dance. You know, it's a first of all, because I went to a couple of I didn't go to as much boot camp as the women did, but I went to them specifically for two reasons. One, I knew I wanted to condition my body for any impulsive moment that the character would
Right,
feel of getting on the pole because Uncle Clifford is a dancer.
right.
So to be able to say like, oh yeah, let me learn a couple of tricks. I just wanted that in my pocket. But primarily, I went to the girls' rehearsals and boot camp because that's what Uncle Clifford would do. To me, Jamaica Craft, who is our brilliant choreographer, and the team of choreographers and dancers that she assembled, that was my cousin. That was Uncle Clifford's cousin. No, not in real life,
Oh,
not
okay,
in real
okay,
life,
okay.
but
Okay.
in my creative mind,
In your
I always thought
processes. Yeah.
it was just like when you were a kid and you and your cousins did made up routines in the basement or was in the garage in the backyard and say, okay, and shake it to the east and shake it to the west. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah. It's
it was stuff like
serious.
that. Yeah. I learned how to twerk Nico. I learned how to twerk when I was in high school from this
I
girl.
can wait a minute. I got a visual, Nico. I got a surefire visual.
Listen,
Oh, and you
I went.
determined. You're like, hold up, we're gonna get this right. We're not leaving until y'all get me together. I'm not
That's
leaving until
right.
I get this right.
That's
That
right.
type A personality. I
We
love
were in a window. We were in her window in her in her apartment, and she was like this, and she just was doing it, doing it, and doing it, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try. And she was like, no, you moving your chest. You got to move the lower half and just work those isolations. Because I was in dance class. I've been dancing since I was 13. Because
it.
originally
Yeah.
the beginning half of my career, I was like,
I
I
was
was
gonna
going to
say you were a
be.
choreographer, right?
I
Yeah.
am. I choreographed for All American on the CW, and I choreographed for This Is Us on NBC. So
Man, listen, the brother knows how to
people
get
don't
checks.
know.
Okay.
People don't know that just because you don't see my face doesn't mean one, I'm not an artist, and then I'm not working. So be
That's your
clear.
yep. Yep.
And I also it speaks to that we have to have us behind the camera as well as writers, as producers, as the choreographers. That's how you figured it all out. But taking it back to Jamaica Craft, I would go to the rehearsals with the pole dancers because I wanted to feel like I was a part of their rehearsal. There was one night that we were on set and filming was going on, but I was done filming for the day, and Brandy, who plays
Oh
Mercedes,
God.
was done filming for the day. So they were outside of the pink filming, but I was in Uncle Clifford's office, Nico, and I just was absorbing the space. I
Mm,
knew where that office, Uncle Clifford can be a little bit of a pack rat. She's not the most neat person.
I understand her.
Listen, but I knew I knew I said I have to get inside of this madness because I knew where all of the records, the prop pieces were. They became very real for me. All of the hats around there's a section of hats over here by the door, and those hats are her grandfather's hats. These jewels and these necklaces around are her mother's and her grandmother's because I wanted to make sure that this space still felt like them.
Ah,
There's a heritage to the space. The jukebox and all of those posters from Grandmothers, who is played by Loretta Devine.
what did you learn from Loretta working with her? Because she is a consummate professional. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Um, I learned from Loretta that it doesn't have to be difficult.
Mm,
It is really easy. It's really easy. And when I say easy, I'm talking about when you know what you're doing, um, you just let go. There is power in just being. That was already a part of my mantra and my artistic cloth. But working with her, the first thing I saw, she came for a fitting, and I was shooting that day, and I was in my trailer, and I was going back to set, and I was walking to the studio because we shot on Tyler Perry Studios.
oh, wow. I love
Hmm.
that.
Amazing, amazing. And she was getting in the van, and it was like, "Oh, Loretta's leaving," and I was like, "Oh my God, I haven't seen her yet," and we had not met. We had not met in person, right? And so across the parking lot, okay, I screamed, "Grandmother, grandmother!" And she started looking around as she's getting in the van,
Woo!
and one of the PAs told her that's me, whatever. So I run over there to her, and she stopped me before I got close. She put her hand up and she said, "Baby, who you Clifford?" And she looked at me. She said, "I want to know who do your makeup. You pretty as boom." And she dropped the
Wait
bomb.
a minute, let me
And I
tell you
was like,
something. Time out, time out. Real
"What?"
story. When you first came to the screen, I clicked pause, called up one of my friends. I said, "Is this fucker prettier than me?" I said, "Is he prettier than me?"
You stupid.
True. That face,
You. I mean, it's the same face. I mean, I actually, I don't, we don't
as a
even do
woman,
much with.
though, as a woman, right?
Mhm.
Your makeup was done the way I would do my makeup. And I think
Yes.
that's what I appreciated about it.
Yes.
It was a regular beat.
Para Thomas is my makeup artist. And she too is from Detroit.
Wait, you watching me, Valley? You see Uncle Clifford? It's Uncle Clifford prettier than me. Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
I love that. I love that. I'll tell you even a deeper inside story. As I was preparing for the role, like we had shot the pilot. No, before we had shot the pilot, I had started compiling. Like I have so many files and pictures and mood boards, inspiration
Mm,
boards, all that stuff. I took a picture. I took a picture of the screen of my TV of Shannon Thornton, who plays Miss Mississippi. I did not know her. We did not know that we were cast in the same show. I saw her on Power, and I was like that. I was like, I want my makeup like that. I said, I just want pretty black girl makeup. I don't want drag makeup. I don't want fake eyebrows. I didn't want to glue them and paint them on. I didn't want to do high contour. I didn't want any of that. I said, just give me pretty girl makeup. Anything in terms of wardrobe, hair, and makeup, the look of Uncle Clifford. First of all, we had head of makeup, Stevie Martin, all black women.
woo.
Pam was the head of hair for season one, all black women, one black man. That helped. There were some black men that helped doing background actors, their hair
Okay.
and makeup. But we had all these black women around us to walk into a trailer. And sometimes if I was early for them, what would I be interrupting, Tanisha? Prayer.
I hear that. And I know that's a
Because
practice.
these women held each other down like nobody's business. So my question would always be, what would you wear?
Yeah.
What would you do with this? And then I would mix that, because even in the first look that you see Uncle Clifford in, when she's coming through the shadows out the door and kicking Jesse out the club, and he says, "Oh, the paint ain't hitting on nothing nowadays anyway." And Uncle Clifford reminds him, "Do you want me to tell your wife where you was tonight? Or do you want your
Woo.
comeback too?" Okay. I knew as the actor, part of that look, part of that construction was, this is the audience's first time in seeing Uncle Clifford. Some people have not lived in New York. Some people have not lived in New Orleans. Some people are not accustomed to queer life,
Mm-hmm.
but they are accustomed to Rick James. They
Yeah.
are accustomed to Prince. They
Mm-hmm.
are accustomed to Sylvester. They
Mm-hmm.
are accustomed to Big Frida. So I knew in terms of the look, it had to be what used to be, it's an old archaic term, but pansy. And
Yeah.
pansy men, I knew that the look initially, for when you first see Uncle Clifford, that would be the entry point. Just like the audience's entry point into the story of P Valley is through the character of Autumn Night, you're
Yeah.
going through the story with her. So you're experiencing us like you're experiencing her for the first time. I knew for
Brilliant.
people to digest Uncle Clifford, it had to be something that they were familiar with. They know Rick James. So yes, I had the hair, and I was like, Arlene Martin did all of my looks, all of my hair looks. And I said, Arlene, give me a braid. This got to be a braid. Put this up
Ooh.
like, old school, like you ready to fight, like you ready to.
You're killing me.
So
You're killing me.
like that's how the looks came about. And working with Rita McGee and Alita Bailey McGee, who are costume designers, it was conversation. It took time. I definitely, as Uncle Clifford, had the longest wardrobe fittings, because there was a lot of trying things
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
How I even prepared for the role, I went shopping. I would go to Ross, I would go to Marshalls and TJ Maxx, because I didn't want to go to the high end stores to say like, yes, I want that, I want that. I was like, if I lived in Chucalissa, I would
Right.
have access to a Dillard's, a Marshalls, like
No.
local
Yeah.
department stores.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went, and just to see what would wardrobe be like, I went and I observed how people looked at me when I was in the women's department.
Wow.
I
Nico,
I
that
I
is,
took it. So that's how you get to the humanity of it. So like what you're seeing is my version of truth. It's an artistic expression. It's not just like boom boom. So everybody's like, oh, I want Uncle Clifford to come to my salon opening, or I want Uncle Clifford to come to my birthday party. And I'm like, Uncle Clifford is not Homie the Clown. um, Uncle Clifford represents very real people, and we are not going to trick her out. Now, Nico can show up, because I'm not tricking myself out. And I give enough energy so that, you're going to get hype, you're going to have fun. I turn up anyway. So, people will be all right. But what they are going to do is respect the character and the people in the real world that are like her.
and Nico, again, that is the beauty and brilliance of P Valley, because for anybody who may have been, grappling with any member of their family who is LGBTQ, and I hope I'm saying it right, because there's always another,
Letter.
added.
Right now, we just say LGBTQ. They say AI sometimes, but just say plus. Add the
Yeah.
plus, you're good.
Well, the point of it is you got broken open. There are certain scenes, even dealing with, some of my own ideas, P Valley broke me open, and it expanded me in a way that I needed to be expanded,
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's so impactful. And when people ask me like, how am I feeling in this moment? I've really been still. I have been still. This moment causes me to be more still than before, because there's a lot coming at me, and there's a lot happening, and I'm talking about transformative stuff. I'm not talking about, oh, this interview, that interview, that stuff. Okay, when I get messages from people, my people, our people, that are talking about, yo, I used to beat up on people like you. I used to beat up on people that look like Uncle Clifford. I didn't know that, you had a full life. I didn't know that you had this. And it's like, you didn't know. Wow. Wow. Okay. But let me not go to pointing the finger. I am going to go to the space of, you don't know me, brother. And you're being very open and vulnerable.
Mm.
Thank you. I hope that you grow from that. These are some things that you could do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to fix everybody. But I'm letting the art just do what it's meant to do. And art heals. I think there's a lot of healing that's happening. Grandmothers or mothers have been saying, like, I think my son might be like an Uncle Clifford, or my daughter.
Mm.
I haven't spoken to them in 3 years. This one woman said she hadn't spoken to her child in 3 years, but seeing the show made her want to reach out. And I'm saying, like, 70-year-olds. I'm not talking about the 20s. Like,
Yeah.
we get to turn up. I'm
Yeah.
talking about people that are in their life.
Yeah.
And my homeboy back in Detroit, he hit me up like, yo, my Uncle Al, he loved the show. You his favorite character. He's like, yo, that Uncle Clifford is gangster, so and so and so and so. They were talking out of a window. Brian was down on the street, Uncle Al up here in the window. They just talking about P Valley. He's like, yo, you hear this? You hear this? Yo. And I'm looking up at this man who is extremely heterosexual. He is not anybody's groomed anything. You're not gonna see his nails clean.
Wow.
If he touch you, you gonna feel strength. You gonna feel concrete. Do you understand what I'm saying? Some people like that. Some people like that. I don't touch me with all that callus.
Yeah, I can't do. I can't do.
But I'm just saying that he's another kind of a man. He's another kind of a man, and for him to be opened up to it, people came thinking that they would see TNA or that this was just gonna be another Players Club, and I think that the show it's proven to be much more.
What I loved is seeing Isaiah Washington.
Me too.
That was a joy for
I
me.
enjoy working with that brother.
Yeah. He's a force. And Ben, Ben, for somebody who's taken quite a lashing in the industry, it was just it was so great, to see him in a role that he puts his teeth into everything, of course, but just to be able to see him like hunker down. Yeah,
we had that whole the politics of it all. We had a conversation about in the very, very beginning. That man has been nothing but kind. We are friends. We differ in political views, but we are still friends, right?
Yeah, and that's
we have
okay.
grown.
Yeah,
that's okay, because everybody, again, we are not a monolith, right?
Yeah.
But he has always met me with such respect. We talk, all that stuff is in the past. I think it also was miscommunication. I think cross wires.
Yeah.
I think that I wasn't there. So, but from what I hear, it is what it is. I'm glad that it's a new day. I'm glad that he is as open. We are cool. We actually talk on the phone like after the show.
Listen, that scene with Isaiah Washington, he was like, for the ancestors, the libations for the ancestors, Ifa, Obatala. I was like, they better work.
Listen, there was a thread on Twitter that I caught about that. It was like, yo, did they just say this on national TV? And I was like, oh, that's taboo. I don't know why embracing our heritage, our culture, why is that taboo? No. And it doesn't replace Jesus.
Nope.
That's just that.
No.
Go ahead. We're going to give it a cultural moment.
We might have to do a whole nother one of these, because this is crazy. Oh my God, Nico. You don't know how many times I tried to impress that upon people.
Yeah.
I love
it's
God.
All in one.
God is him before me and behind me. Okay.
God
I was just like, we're just like in Catholicism, okay? When they have, Mary and Saint Joseph, you know what I mean? It is no different. As a matter of fact, Catholicism was born out of Yoruba. Don't get me started.
Okay. Listen, she gave y'all the pursed lip, so she meant it. Y'all know.
But I'm just saying, come on, you guys. This is not, our ancestors, they're our allies.
Yes.
That's it. They're like, slow down, speed up. You know what I mean?
There you go. Yeah.
It's
I think though
angels.
sometimes people, I think that sometimes people just haven't been exposed to it. I think that sometimes people think there's something called magic, and I'm like, no, it's not magic. It's all about timing, you know. And when you think about, to me, all of this stuff, this industry, I
Mm.
always ask people the question, what was told to you? And I don't mean from another person. I don't mean from your mother. I don't mean from your best friend. But in your quiet moments, what was told to you? Because
Oh,
that right there is the thing that will sustain
Nico,
you
I'm
through
calling. I'm
all
calling the
moments.
lift. I meet you on Sunset
What?
for coffee and tea. We going social distance. This is just,
Oh, right. We are both in LA. That's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is crazy. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm adopting you. I don't adopt many. I'm definitely adopting you. You're one of my own now because, like I said at the top of this, I'm like, did we party together?
I
You know,
think we
and
may
just,
have back in the day with like, were you at the Brooklyn Cafe and all
yeah,
of that stuff?
yeah,
Maybe, maybe,
yeah.
maybe,
And
maybe,
I
you know.
used to work at Elmo on 7th Avenue.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe that might. Okay, maybe. I
Yeah.
don't know for sure, but you have
Well,
always felt like, even when I would watch your interviews and stuff on the red carpet, I was like, I feel like I know her. I was like, I don't know if it's from dance. I don't know what it was, you know. And there is a dancer. Her name is Laverne,
oh, well,
and
that's
she
funny.
does.
That's my middle name.
Oh, oh, that part. Wow. Ooh.
Yeah. That's
Anyway,
so crazy.
but I know like she is a dancer because I know her from like choreographing her and dancing with her. But I was like, no, I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah. It's
But I
just, it's,
but
I
I'm
love
with
it.
you.
Listen,
Me and
thank
you
you. Yeah,
will
right.
never
I am
part.
here for it, Nico Anon. I am here for it. You know, I don't want to rehash, you know, my dirty 30s living in New York City, my God. But I'm like, did he help me in a cab one night? You know, like, you know, did
In
he
the
help me?
meatpacking district somewhere, coming from a
That's
club or
what I'm
something.
saying. And Elmo is on, you know, it's in Chelsea, but you know,
I used to
Jason.
work down at Dance Theater Workshop. I was one of
Mm,
their choreographers in residence at Dance Theater Workshop, and that's where I actually did a lot of the one person shows that I directed and choreographed with Aziza Barnes and with Urban Word NYC and all of this, you know. So there's a whole life to this,
the
and you
energy,
know,
man, the energy, the frequency.
yeah. You don't have to wait till you get on TV to do it. You don't have to wait till you get on YouTube or get the likes to do it. You can write right now. You can act right now. You can paint right now. You don't have to wait for some studio or someone to give you some knighting to say that you are worthy. You know, it's great to be able to take in criticism from other people so that you can better yourself, so
Yeah,
that you can
that's
learn
key, you
like,
guys.
oh,
That's key.
yeah, like the tools, they're things that I learned, you know, and people try to create this cantankerous relationship. And I'm like, oh, you know, Big Frida said she auditioned for the role. And I'm like, I'm glad that she did. I thought that they would go for her. Do you understand what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah,
Um, I think that, first of all, for everybody to be in the room, that's the win. For everybody to be in the room, for us all to be having the conversation, that's the win. If you look at even the way Big Frida, I love her music. She is the queen of bounce. There's a difference. If you know, I think that even when people talk about like celebrities, they're coming into the shows and all
mm,
that stuff. It's great if you are a storyteller. It's great if you're a storyteller, but at the same time, there was something I think magical about people not knowing our faces
mm.
and being able to accept Chuckalisa for the space of abandoned house that it is. It's hope. That's what Chuckalisa is. It's Choctaw. It's Choctaw for abandoned house, hope.
Wow,
You know, so that's what the
wow.
whole town is made out of. You know, so I'm not against Big Frida. Big Frida ain't against me, as far as I know. You know what I'm saying? It's all about fun. It's all about exposure. You know, there's Tej. There's Tej is a young man that watches the show and is queer identifying. This young man has been on my DMs and on
Mm,
Twitter and stuff like that. and expressing the impact of Uncle Clifford on his life. You know, I've had people come to me and say literally, if I had seen an Uncle Clifford when I was such and such age, I may not have tried to do certain things.
Wow.
That's that you can't no dollar amount can I put on somebody's life. Me being on TV is not about, oh my gosh, yo, you done made it, yo, you did this. For me, it's like, oh, there are people who are able to see this love. Tanisha, I've always experienced the love of Black people like this. In my family, we don't always talk about, oh, he gay, oh, he this. Sometimes back in the day, it was like, it's you. Like
Gotcha.
that. Or,
Gotcha.
I think you might be a little sweet, I don't know. But
I
there was
love it.
still love. There was still love.
Yeah.
My parents always have loved and supported me. Even in this space, there is growth. My parents were not the ones that were like, yeah, my child is they were not like grandmother, like Ernestine in P Valley. They weren't like that. But my mother was very much so like, I'm gonna love my child. So those of you out here who are parents who have children that may be on the spectrum or that may be a little more hardened or go a road of being a doughboy or a dough girl, I think that love is a way that can heal them. I think that empowering them to understand, oh, if you can do this doughboy life, you can do the corporate life because you understand money. You understand supply and demand. There's a whole other way that we can really find merit in the day-to-day things that we do that we think is survival, but it's actually progression.
You're a sum total of your life experience.
Yeah, for sure.
You are a sum total of your life experience. Yeah. Nico, this has been remarkable. This has been so outstanding.
It has been. This is great. This is a good
one. Wow. I feel so blessed, to have this moment. Yeah, to have this moment with you. You guys, you got it right here. Somebody tagged me the other day, was just like, please interview this man on one of your posts. And I said, you know what? It's already happening. It's already happening. Yeah, it's already happening. It's already on the calendar. Nico, the best is yet to come. Thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy day to sit and chat with me. I cannot wait to see what comes down the pipeline for you. I mean, there are so many roles of a lifetime. Before we go, finally, when you think about, the progression and the evolution, of your career, Uncle Clifford would be what some would call a role of a lifetime, really and truthfully. So you have Uncle Clifford. Who else would be a role of a lifetime, or what else would be a role of a lifetime for you?
I think that first of all, that you are correct. Uncle Clifford is definitely a role of a lifetime. And I remember when we were doing Hot Wing King in the city, and in between shows, I was coming from a matinee and we were walking to go get lunch before the evening show. And someone had asked me that, was like, we were talking about roles, like would you really be your dream role? That was the question, what's your dream role? And I was like a kid in a candy store because I didn't say anything, but I was smiling on the inside. This was before P Valley aired, because this is back in March. We didn't air till July.
Oh yeah, wow.
I was standing literally on 42nd and Dyer. I was like, I think I'm
Ooh, you're way up there.
Yeah. I was like, I'm living it. I think I'm living it. I think Uncle Clifford, I'm living my dream role. I'm living my dream role. Seeing it air, seeing the experience a reaction that people are having from it, it invigorates the other parts of my imagination, because I started playing Uncle Clifford in 2009. That's when the reading of this piece started. So there are other stories that I definitely want to tell, and other characters. There are some biopics that I would love to be a part of. Barry Jenkins is doing the Alvin Ailey story. I think that Alvin's story is remarkable. I think that Jeffrey Holden's story is remarkable. I think that Andre Leon Talley
Oh,
are
wait a
all
second now.
stories
Wait a
that
second.
are
Wait a
remarkable.
second.
I
Wait a
have so much more in store for you. Uncle Clifford is just the beginning. So if you just come along for the ride.
Andre Leon Talley, though, you got me there with that one. I could so see you as Andre Leon Talley.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
a story that must be told. His story must be told because he comes from, like all of us, very humble beginnings.
Yes.
Okay. And I don't care about, the Black elite and the Black affluent. You still come from humble beginnings.
There you go. There you go. Hello.
Okay. We all come from the same humble straits.
And he's not shy about that.
Yeah. And Andre, the way he talks about, I studied, I made a choice.
Mm-hmm.
See, we gotta go. We gotta go. We gotta go. We gotta go. Yes.
Yeah. But I was just gonna say, I was gonna end it on that. I wouldn't have those dream roles or those other things to come, because it's not just biopics for me. It's really because like Lena Waithe, she's doing Sammy Davis Jr. Like I read that in Deadline. I was like, yes, I love it, because that story, those entertainers, they gave you such grit. They gave you, when people can see what they come from, because oftentimes they've heard of it, they've heard the name, but they don't know about it. They don't know about it.
Yeah.
So to really acclimate themselves to what the world is, what the journey was, they know that they are not that alone when they're going through it themselves. They can help navigate and go around different things, because they're like, oh, Sarah Vaughan did that. She was a darker skinned woman, and people always try to make her like Dorothy. Wait, I could do this. I'm just saying, because there's a difference between Aaliyah and let's take someone, Victoria Monet. There's a difference.
Yeah.
They may be in the same genre of music, but those are two different women. Doja Cat and Nicki are not the same. I'm like, let people, and let Black women, let Black men, let people express
themselves.
Yeah.
Express themselves. I love it.
You better break into that Salt-N-Pepa song. Express yourself. You got to be you, baby.
Oh, wow. Hey. You're taking me back. That's so crazy. I had a conversation with someone recently who said, Tanisha, I look at you and I see this bald head, and so there's this implicit bias that comes in my mind because of this bald head, right? But then when you open your mouth and that I'm like rough and tough, just because I have a bald head. And I'm like, that's just so crazy to me, because, in this Blackness and my Africanness, women shave their heads regularly, and it's soft and it's feminine and it's elegant,
Yeah.
But I mean, that was her idea.
Okay. That's why I asked that. Yeah, I get what you're saying now.
And she went on to say, but to sit with you, and to hear you speak, it's just such an antithesis of who I thought you were.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
does she think the same thing about babies? When babies come in the world, does she think that babies that are bald are like tough and rough?
That's what I'm saying. And it's so crazy, because when I'm in dating, men who are really dialed in, they are protective. They're like, oh my God, you're like a little baby. I just want to, you know what I mean? So it's like,
And why can't, my question is, even as a woman, the woman you said asked you that question. So I would ask her, why can't you be rough, tough, and soft at the same time?
Right. Because I'm all those,
Why, aren't we all? I mean, like,
look, I'm like water. I'm hard and soft like water.
Baby, because water could kill you, but water could also lift you up. Water can't kill you. I was like, water could kill you. Water could kill you. The pressure from water can kill you, but water can also lift you up and let you float.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is true. That is true. Nico, this is amazing. I'm DMing you my telephone number. We got to have a beach day.
Yeah.
I'm something. Yeah, we got to do something. This has been remarkable. This is a healing bomb. This is a gift that keeps on giving. I was
Oh.
so excited to talk to you today, and it's so much more than what I could have ever imagined.
What
So
did
much
you think
more.
it was going to be? I'm always interested in that. I'm like, what am I supposed to be like?
No, well, just in terms of like the time, you know what I mean? Like I got really nervous when I was having tech
Okay.
issues, you know what I mean? And just for us to be able to sit here and have, a very healthy, organic conversation and just, going into editing, I'm going to be like, wow, I have so many beautiful sound bites that I can pick out. So many stories are in here, and the
Mhm.
joy of this time too, as a journalist is I can have, this is evergreen content here, and when life is moving, the red carpets are up, the junkets are up, you get a couple of sound bites, but here there's so much evergreen content.
I
You know
love
what I
it.
mean? Like for whatever is happening in the culture, there's
Hmm.
a sound bite here,
Hmm.
and for
And
me,
guess what?
that's a check, y'all. For me, that's a check.
It's a check because we ain't going nowhere.
Woo!
We
Believe that.
ain't going
Believe
nowhere.
that. Believe that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
guys tune in. Continue to follow Nico, as I know you guys are, and look for me on Roku. You can follow me on my social media at Tanisha Laverne Grand and blackinamerica.com. Nico, this has been
Yeah.
amazing, my love.
It has. It
So
has.
much.
Girl, you are
Woo,
welcome.
baby.
Thank you. Thank
Thank you.
you.
Bye
Yes.
bye.
Bye bye.